pretty flower, where you been? You got me looking back again. I do recall when you were running out the way of something falling, calling, calling, calling for a friend. Oh, this is what you meant. Oh, this is where you've been. I won't forget where you'd spend. Though all your dreams are wearing thin. You told me not to compromise, but sometimes people have no eyes. Disguised inside a face, they hide within. This is what you meant. Oh, this is where you've been. Just erase the pictures from my mind. I could be blind, but all I see is a face of me, the memory of a pretty flower time. So pretty flower, where you been? You got me calling you back again. I've only got myself to blame. I've only one name to name. If only I could have been your friend. This is what you meant. Oh, this is where you've been. Pretty flower, where you been?
This is Where You've Been, track number 14 from the new Jon Macey album, Actuality in Progress. And this is where you are, Visual Radio Television, program number 303. And do you know, my previous guest, Sal Baglio, number 302, co-wrote that with you.
Yes, sir.
So I find the co-writers, and I put the shows like bookends, you know. But Barry Marshall is playing guitar. Did Sal play Barry's parts on the record?
I think Barry's playing Sal's part, so possibly. It's one or the other.
That was a trick question.
That was a vague approximation of what Sal played on the record.
But we have Barry Marshall here and Jon Macey. And John, it's a bit of a reunion for all of us because on June 29th, 1978, Barry and I did the Paradise, and on December 2nd of that year, you and I did the Paradise.
And I might have the tapes of that, you know.
I have some of them, you have some of them.
Yeah. You have them, the reels?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have your reels and I have mine.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Who's got the Marshalls?
Wasn't that a Bob Dylan song?
I think I have the Marshalls.
You have the Marshalls?
Yeah. I think I have the Marshalls.
Who's got Willie?
I probably have Willie.
So I've just got Fox Bass.
I don't know. We'll go. I was in the vaults today. Folks, and you got to understand, we've been in the scene for 3 decades or more, and we gotta actually talk about. We'll get back to that subject. I want to talk about the early days of Fox Pass, Jon Macey's band, and the Marshalls, Barry Marshall's band, and
or as the band I was in, we know it as the Marshalls.
the three of us all did pop music, which in the new wave was really, pop was an important part of the new wave, but a lot of it was punk. And Boston bands were doing pop. You did pop. We all did pop. Even Sal Baglio did pop. Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
Might have had more of a bar band edge, but it still was. He was writing pop songs.
Absolutely.
What you just sang was a folk pop.
Yeah. And on that one, it's electric pop. Yeah, power pop.
Yeah. And you've maintained that genre because that's what you like.
Yes.
And it's what the Marshalls were all about.
Sure. I think, as we've all gotten older, we've all branched into other things as well, and I think John has too. But I think that some of our roots show, even when we don't mean them to.
I stopped worrying about it.
Yeah.
You guys are teachers now, but you were both producers. You worked with Laverne Baker?
Yeah, I worked with Laverne as a producer and as a band leader, and actually one of the great experiences of my life. Toured all over the world, played several countries in Europe, played some of the greatest jazz festivals and blues festivals, played the Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland, where we were introduced by Quincy Jones and Claude Nobbs, who promoted the festival that year and do many times, and played on the same bill with Ruth Brown and B.B. King. And that night I got to not only play with Laverne, which is just the greatest singer in the history of practically music, for me anyway, and I think she's an underrated and underappreciated singer in the history books too, and I'm trying to do a little bit lately to rectify that. But anyway, got to also play with B.B. King on stage and like jam with B.B. King. I jammed with B.B.
Yes.
I went to the Atlantic 40th party in 1988.
I think it was 88, yeah.
Were you there?
No, I wasn't. That's just about a month before I met her, actually, because she I don't know if you know the story, but she quit the music business in 1969. Lived on Subic Bay in the Philippines, where somewhere in the early 70s, my father, I think when he was drunk on an R&R from Vietnam, had seen her play. She remembered seeing her play at the club. She ran a club on Subic Bay for 20 years, from 1969 to 1989, the NCO Club, Non-Commissioned Officers
Right to
Club.
1989.
Up to 1989. And in 1988, they brought her back to do that 40th anniversary show of Atlantic, and with all those great acts like
I was there.
Led Zeppelin and Phil Collins and all those great acts. And during that, from doing that show, Seymour Stein saw her that night, and he always loved her. And so he wanted to put her in this movie called Shag the Movie, which was happening about a month or two later, sometime that summer. It was the summertime, right?
It was, because I was managing Mission Control Studio.
Well, right, that's right.
Where you recorded it.
Right, and Seymour had the idea of doing, Shag the Movie was a soundtrack, that it was a period piece movie, took place in 1962, kind of like the real Dirty Dancing. In other words, it was an authentic sound and authentic dancing, unlike Dirty Dancing, which was like basically like 1962, but Broadway show dancing from 1979 in the movie in 1962. Right. And it even had songs. Dirty Dancing had like, Love Man by Otis Redding, I think it was from 1966, and it's supposed to be playing in 1962. Most kids don't even care about that, but that really bothers me. But anyway, Shag the Movie was an authentic version of that kind of thing, and they had either all original records or the original artist doing some of their own songs or period songs. So I got to co-produce with Andy Paley, my friend that I learned, and did tons of records with and learned how to record kind of with him. We did a song, Every Day I Have to Cry, with Benny King, and we did a remake of Saved with Laverne, and we did a duet of I'm Leaving It All Up to You, with Benny and Laverne. And that's how I met her, working on that record. And
so you met her up at Mission Control?
I met her. Well, we picked her up at the hotel the day before and everything. But I met her around that recording experience.
Because I have a picture of her with my cat.
With the cat.
At
That's
Mission
right.
Control.
That's
and
right.
Seymour Stein flipped out.
Right.
And he said, I'm allergic.
Seymour was completely flipping out about being allergic, right? And he almost couldn't stay in the room.
But it was upstairs. It was all psychological.
Yeah, well, some people think that all allergies
are
psychological.
The very next week.
That's what I'm always telling my sister.
The very next week,
and my wife now too.
I'm with Jimmy Miller in New York, and Charlie Koppelman walks in and goes, Miller, go say hi to Koppelman. And Seymour walks by and I go, Mr. Stein, I'm so sorry last week about the cat. My eyes are still watering to this day.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just so
Probably
weird.
still watering now.
Anyway, I could talk for forever about Laverne and what a great experience it was.
You produced all sorts of records, and you produced for Elektra.
At one point, I was right when we were signed to Mercury. I was doing production for Elektra.
What acts did you do?
It was all pre-production acts.
So they were signing or thinking of signing?
Right, people, they development deals, yeah.
Oh, so they put you in the studio with them.
Right.
Pretty cool.
And basically none of it ever really went anywhere, but I was working with Maxanne. Remember Maxanne was at
Absolutely.
Elektra, right?
Well, she had been instrumental in the Dream On.
Yeah.
The Aerosmith's Dream On, she was playing it first, and the car's just what I needed, right? Wasn't she at the
Yeah.
forefront of all that?
I think Maxine is one of those people that kind of got slightly written out of the history books too.
Yeah.
In terms of she was really important in an influence on the Boston music
Oh
scene
yeah, as far
for
as
many years.
as far as that time period in Boston, she was the most important DJ. There's no doubt about it.
You played at the Orpheum with Roxy. Was she involved with that?
She was the one who told Don Law to put us on the show.
That's pretty
Right.
as influential.
Yeah.
That's
She had
pretty
a
good.
lot of she had a lot of say in things at that point. Yeah.
I mean, the Orpheum. That was we were I got you on tape, but it was like, wow, there's John. Went to high school with that guy. He's on stage.
It's pretty exciting.
It is.
And Roxy Music's such a great band.
That was a great era of Roxy music too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So what crazy antics did you pull that night on the stage?
I pulled
Did
antics
you
on
pull
the
some
stage.
crazy
He said a dirty
antics that
word,
night?
disco.
Oh, the Disco Sucks thing.
Did you coin that
gave
phrase?
Gave careers to many other people.
Did you coin that phrase?
Well, apparently I coined the phrase, yeah, by accident.
You had a song.
Well, I had a song called "It's Rock." It was a big Fox Pass song, and it was basically I was doing a lot of I still do it now, but I mean I do it less than I used to. Taking a character and just playing it on stage in the
Okay.
song, but all first person. So Fox Pass was very performance art oriented. So here I was doing sort of that stuff within the context of these rock songs. So that song was supposed to be like a stupid rock song. It's rock. Because people loved the song, the critics loved it, thinking I was actually serious.
Yeah.
And so on the Orpheum stage,
But you were doing a Spinal Tap thing.
well, kind
in
of
a way.
it was kind of a spoof, but it was
Yeah.
it was it was all mixed together. But the fact is, in that character, it's rock. We want rock. We think disco sucks. And then everybody started cheering. So I just kept going with it.
Sure, why not?
So- right. That was on that show.
So
At
you
the
think
O-
Rick Dees got the idea from that?
Well, I don't know.
That's the guy who had this
Yeah.
baseball stadium full of people.
Right. Well, that was a number of years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was about 3 years later.
But it did get him. Didn't it get in Playboy
Got in
magazine?
Playboy, yeah.
So people were reading it, and people were reading Ken Barnes stuff religiously. Ken's at USA Today now. But,
Right.
But actually, Ken Barnes made John and myself 2 of Boston's 5 best bands that year. Did you know? In Playboy,
Yeah, yeah.
which is pretty heavy. But when you first stepped on the Orpheum stage, it must have been like him playing with B.B. King. What was your feelings?
Well, it was fantastic. I mean, of course, you thought you were going to be a rock star then the next day. of course.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was it.
And you were for a minute.
Yeah, for a few minutes.
No
actually.
offense, but,
a few minutes.
You got
That's
more
the way
than
it goes.
15
Yeah.
minutes. You got more than 15 minutes that Andy allotted everyone.
Yeah,
No, I meant for that week. I mean.
yeah. For that particular, yeah. All of a sudden the write-ups, all of a sudden, all the stuff. Yeah.
Good old Max Sand, that was cool. Wow. And you're right, Roxy was so good. I'd seen you at Oliver's Cask and Flagon over near Fenway Park. I'd seen Fox Pass there. But, you could tell you really, you were electrified on the stage. You really took to the big stage.
Yeah, we played the Orpheum in Macy's Parade too.
Really?
Yeah,
And
I
that
even
was
played
the
with you.
first
Yeah,
night?
Right. Barry
Was it first night?
First night
Yeah.
show, yeah.
When
That was
Barry was
great.
producing the album, but the album was done by then. It was out, but we
Right.
we did the Orpheum show. I got a video of that.
New Year's of 1993 to 4,
Yeah,
1993 to 94.
Comical. You guys wrote Comical, just as Sal and you wrote the tune on Actuality in Progress.
Process.
This is where...
Actuality and process.
Oh, in process. See, I told you, I'm like frazzled today, in process.
Well, there's a
And what
difference.
is
There's
actuality
a
and
distinction
process?
between actuality and progress and actuality and process.
What's actuality in process?
Well, actuality,
Is this actuality in process?
almost.
What are we doing wrong that we're almost?
Well, we're thinking about it.
We might have to get into the allegory. We may have to get into the allegory of the cave here, Joe.
Right, we're almost. It's almost right. What, Plato?
Yes.
Right. exactly.
I got that part of it. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Too
And
much
that's right, right.
perspective.
Yeah.
I can get right back at you. It takes you 10 years to make a record.
Well, the next one won't take that long.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I said.
You're just
last
gonna
time.
pour them out at people now.
I've got 3 or 4 records in between these 2 records.
But you just felt like releasing. I understand these things. Bobby
Yeah.
Hebb has 2 albums out, but he's got about 30 albums recorded.
Right.
So there's a second Macy's Parade album coming out. No
Okay.
Perspective.
I've heard a lot of it already.
Yeah, you've heard a lot.
She's
of it.
Got Me Sold, which is a great
Good
track.
stuff. There's an all-acoustic album I have called The Acolyte, and then this one. But the new group is I'm most excited about recording that.
Now that you have the academic connection, maybe we can get some recordings.
Now, who's the new group, Barry?
No.
All the guys, John Jules and Michael Roy from Fox Pass, and Steve Gilligan from the Stompers.
So he takes the best of the best, and
Yeah, band sounds great.
that's actuality in process.
Right, that's actuality. It's not
Ah.
even in process.
It's already been
Process
processed.
already happened.
It's there, right.
Okay.
That's a cheeky title because actuality isn't in process.
Are you really titling the No Perspective?
No perspective. Yeah.
That's the companion piece to Macy's
to
Parade.
too much perspective, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But your name, you changed your name because of John Hall
A
of
long,
Orleans.
long time ago.
And now there's a John Macey out there playing jazz.
Right.
It gets very
He's
confusing.
been around for a while, actually. There's also a John Macey playing country. He's been around forever.
Ah,
Like a pedal steel guy.
There's also a parade in New York too, right? Isn't there?
Well, there's Macy's Parade, yes.
today is the 5th of May, and some of the show will be airing in time for May 22nd, the Kirkland Cafe. I'll be in New York at the Cutting Room with Andy Pratt. I'd be there otherwise, you know that. But you have my blessing, May 22nd. What night is it? A Saturday?
Saturday, May 22nd, yeah. My band's playing, Barry's band's playing.
Oh, so are you guys going to play together too?
We're probably gonna do a set apart, and then we'll probably do a short acoustic thing of about 3 or 4 songs
At
least.
the end, yeah.
And we should. The Kirkland Cafe is a lot of fun. Oh God, that's Mickey Bliss, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like in the netherworld between Inman Square and Harvard Square and Central Square. It's kind of like that crossroads of Somerville and Cambridge.
Right.
And it's really cool. It's just
Places we used to stumble around in our youth from club to club.
but it's a lot of fun over there.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually seats.
Yeah, and tables.
Yeah, tables and chairs. That's why I play there, actually.
They renovated. It's very nice now. It used to be a real divey atmosphere, you know, a regular neighborhood bar, but now it's a respectable
Which has
joint.
beauty in its own
Right.
right, but right.
God, we've all played enough of them.
Yeah.
Marshalls, when did they begin?
Marshall's, I guess, officially began in 1974, 75. I had played in high school bands. I was in a band in the South Shore. I lived in a town then called Situate, the Irish Riviera. And I was in a high school band called the Fugitives in the late 60s, when and also another high school band called the Crossroads. And we were the best band for about 5 towns around, and we thought we were hot shit. And then we got to the surf, and we found out we weren't really that hot shit. And because the surf was really, the happening place in that era in the late
Sure.
60s. That's
Wonderful
where
place.
I saw the Doors and all
Doors
the great.
played the surf?
Oh yeah, on a Saturday afternoon. The Saturday before that they played the Ed Sullivan Show and Light My Fire, because I remember I was so close to Jim Morrison, I could see the gray stains in his white shirt, that he had on with the black leather jacket. That if you ever see him on the Ed Sullivan Show, you can see those same stains still today. So I thought to myself when I saw the Ed Sullivan Show, wow, he didn't change his clothes since yesterday. What a revelation that was. Right? But anyway, all kinds of great Boston bands played the surf too. I used to see these great bands like the Rockin' Ramrods and Burying the Remains and the Mods, the Pilgrims, the Techniques, all kinds of great bands.
Oh, yeah.
And the Mods later sort of morphed, a couple of them morphed into Orpheus. The
did
Rockin'
they?
Ramrods did a whole bunch of great things, and I still occasionally work with Jesse Henderson, who was the drummer, who was an engineer at Longview Farm Studios.
Sure.
The Rockin' Ramrods tour with the Rolling Stones, the Burying the Remains tour with the Beatles. They've all done amazing things. And those were kind of the house bands of the surf. They used to play all the time. And it was a teen club.
Bring back the surf, Barry.
Yeah, yeah.
Was that Nantasket
In fact, I
Beach?
just did, Nantasket Beach, where there used to be about 20 clubs up and down the strip where there was an amusement park.
Oh, the roller
And
coaster.
I played,
when roller coasters were safe.
Yep, through the years I played all kinds of clubs on that strip. But anyway, in fact, just the other night, Saturday night, I did a radio show on a station on the South Shore. Can I say the name of the station?
WATD.
WATD Marshfield.
Ed
right.
and George.
Yep, I did that show with Miles Connor.
Miles Connor.
With Scott the Cat
The
Anderson.
president of rock and roll.
Scott the Cat Anderson and Lenny Baker from Sha-Na-Na. And all these guys I used to see back then. Of course, Scott is like more in my generation, but actually he's younger than me in case he's watching. But all those guys, like I used to see, like Lenny when he was in the Pilgrims, and Miles when he had a band called Miles and the Wild Ones, which was an amazing. Miles was an amazing singer in his day, and right through the late '70s, he was an amazing singer. When he was off what he calls vacation, he had long, extended vacations. And
Well, he
when
did a
was
lot of art gallery stuff, right?
Right. Well, he was an art connoisseur, and so when he was on vacation, he was incarcerated. So, but he continued to play, and every time he came out, he was great. But anyway, so we did a radio show the other night. I actually recently worked on a record of old Miles Connor stuff that we remastered and put together. It's just
Really?
come out now. Yeah, it's called "I Was the One." Miles Connor, "I Was the One," and that's available. And he has I think the website is called milesconnor.com.
So he's back. Wow.
Yeah.
Just as you guys are back.
Yeah.
What's the Kirkland going to be all about? You're going to have Johnny Jules?
Jules on drums,
Really?
Mike Roy on guitar.
Oh, so you've got the boys out there and working.
Yeah, the whole Fox Pass band back together again.
I have a question for both of you about that. Would either of you have got into this had you known how rough it really is 30 years on?
The business?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a beautiful thing, actually. I think it's good that it's rough because that does ensure that certain people, that really have it in their soul and their heart will stick it out, for one thing. So if you're doing it for the reason for the right reasons, which is that you're doing it for the music and you love it, it doesn't even matter if you're super successful or not, as long as you can do it. I think if you can do it and have an audience, then that's beautiful. But I also think that it's good that it's hard. Yeah, I would definitely still do it. Yes.
Yeah, I think, like we talked about earlier, you walk on the Orpheum stage at 21 and you think you're a star.
And you think you'll be at the Garden when you're 22.
Right. I think there's that naive point of view, but I also think what Barry said is true. Willie Alexander said it to me once. The real guys, John, you saw them 10 years ago, you're going to see them 10 years from now. The real guys. If you're a real musician, if you're a real artist, you're gonna do it one way or the other.
Yeah.
Even
absolutely.
if you have no audience.
Because we don't choose it, it chooses.
I think that's true.
The profession chooses.
And I think that it is in some ways a calling. And I think that the music itself is out there, you know what I mean? And you're tuned into it, if in some ways.
This is the real priesthood.
Well, it's, and in my own case, after Macy's Parade, I was very frustrated. Because things had changed so drastically from the time I came back from New York to coming back to Boston and really trying to make a go of Macy's Parade. I gave it everything I had, and the scene had shifted so much.
Well, the resistance that a lot of the people have towards bands, it's like, he had his shot. Well, it's music and it's important music. But, I was getting a lot of resistance at the Don Law Company when I was saying, hey, I want to put Macy's Parade in. It's like, well, he's had his shot. And it's like, no, he's a great artist. And, I had to really, go to bat, which I'm doing for Andy Pratt today. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why am I going to bat for these guys? Their name should speak for itself. Mm-hmm. It blows my mind. And you experienced it too.
There's no denying that it's a tough business. And I have to say, I feel extremely lucky and fortunate. And, if I believed in it, I'd say I'm blessed. Because I've been able to make a living out of it, and actually I have a great thing in teaching now, and I really love teaching as well, and that has its own rewards. But the teaching, in a lot of ways, has enabled me to, continue being in the heart of music. I make more records since I've been a teacher than I made before.
I know, but my point is, if a Pretty Polly would get behind a Macy's Parade and the Marshalls and these bands and stay with them for years, and nurturing thing, and the record labels, all working in unison, but it seems to me, Pretty Polly does a wonderful job of what they do. They book the concerts for the Esplanade, and the record companies do what they do, but it doesn't seem to be any kind of working together, because John's work is important to me, and your work is important to me. So if it's important to me, it's got to be important to other people. There's other people around the world on eBay selling this stuff.
Amazing.
No, but the point is, if you just keep pushing something long enough, like Fleetwood Mac, right? I mean, what did they sell? 250,000 records every year, but that was about it. They were like forgotten by Warner's, and all of a sudden, because they kept with them.
Well, I'm very happy about the whole internet thing, because during Macy's Parade, I mean, obviously it was around in 1992, 93, but really, I'm sure none of us took it seriously. I sure didn't.
No, I didn't.
And I knew about it, because I actually knew some people that, like Ronnie Doty, who was very involved in it. He used to tell me about it.
You're webmaster.
Yeah, but he used to tell me about it then.
It's coming.
He was already doing it, but it didn't mean anything. Nobody was on it.
Yeah,
So
but
the
now
idea,
that you are on it, johnmacy.com.
Right, so the idea back then, even being, this whole thing about how it works with acts that have been around a long time in the same town, even the local record stores sort of ignore you to some degree. I found that during Macy's Parade. It was very difficult to sell records because of that. Now it's a whole lot better. You can go right around the record stores.
But you were all ready for it because Ron Doty was there with all your bands, and he had it already. So he's put up johnmacy.com?
No, he didn't put that up, but he helped me. He did help me. But the fact is, now with that, I've sold records to people in Japan, Germany.
Amazing.
I don't know why. I don't know why somebody from Japan is
there's all
buying
kinds
the
of things besides records. I mean, that you can, obviously the mailing list stuff is really crucially important, and there's all kinds of ways to do things now that actually didn't, to be honest, didn't exist when we were kids.
Yeah.
But when we, I always jokingly talk to the students. I always say, do you know that in the late '70s, in the heart of the, the punk era, and the heart of the whole, supposedly the do-it-yourself DIY ethic of that era, none of us ever sold our records at the gigs.
Right.
And like,
nobody did.
If you think about that from today's perspective, that was retarded. That was incredibly stupid. And like,
I can tell you
but,
why.
But the only people who did were country artists
I can tell you
in that
why.
era. Yeah.
The same reason we didn't go to on public access TV. What did we do? We all went to radio.
Right.
We all went to MFO. We all went to ERS, right?
We got played on the radio.
But even if we had records,
But we should have been selling records at the
At the
clubs. We
gigs.
should have been on all the public access.
we had
stations.
singles.
That's
We
what
weren't
should
selling
have
them
been.
at the gigs.
Right.
And only country acts did that then. And that was considered corny and selling out. And
But can you
corporate or
imagine
whatever.
had the Marshalls done 10 access shows and had you done 20 access shows, those tapes, if you performed, we didn't take advantage of certain things. You know why? There was a reason, Barry. Because we all were going for the big
Right.
Yeah.
record deal.
Yeah. The ring.
Well, it's true. I mean,
brass ring.
that obscured a lot of things that happened. That's why Fox Pass doesn't have an album out. We were offered a number of local deals. In fact, we were offered national deals, but I didn't think they were good enough because I was going for the big record companies.
And I can't fault you for that because we're looking back from hindsight.
Right. At the time, it seemed foolish to go for the. That's why I'm not in Live at the Rat. I mean, management, everybody around me said, "Don't do Live at the Rat. It's small time."
Were you on Live at the Red Volume 2? I was on Live at the Red Volume 2.
Yeah,
but it never
everybody
came
was.
out.
Yeah, everybody was on Volume 2 when they saw it happened to
No,
volume.
I told them to shut the recorders off. I wouldn't be on it.
Really?
I didn't like Jimmy's contract. To shut
Well,
the recorders.
contract was. Yeah, I wish somebody would find those tapes Live at the Rat too.
Doesn't Jesse have them?
No, I think they disappeared when one of the engineers died
Yeah, it's too bad.
years later. Yeah. But anyway, we didn't sell records at our own gigs, and nobody did. I mean, I played in the heart of the CBGB's era.
Nobody did.
when Patti Smith was playing there and television, and we used to open up for television all the time and stuff. None of those acts sold records at their gigs. You'd be lucky if you found a song on their jukebox. You know what I mean? Like, occasionally, a few of them, like television. I remember Little Johnny Jewel was on the jukebox at CBGB's, but that's about it. They didn't sell it at CBGB's, and that was considered corny. And really, in retrospect, that was kind of silly that we didn't do that. And today, obviously, that's a huge part of what sustains a local band, and a huge part of what sustains a lot of touring acts. Yeah.
Well, I'm selling CDs at my gigs.
Yeah.
Where'd you record, I believed, the 45? Fox Pass had a 45.
Northern.
You did it in Northern.
Yeah, Bill Reisman.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that was one of the big studios at the time.
Yeah.
It was very big. It was huge.
Was that Maynard?
in Maynard? Yeah.
So right near the Sitting Bull.
Yeah.
It was on top of a warehouse or something, right?
Yeah, it was an enormous room. There wasn't. That's the other thing. There was not a whole lot of real professional studios in the Boston area back. There was a
Longwood,
handful.
maybe, or
Longview Farm was there.
Intermedia.
Which became
Yeah.
the car studio later
Right.
on
Yeah.
Newbury Street.
Eastern Sound.
Easton was around back then,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. Fox Pass recorded there.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, we recorded there in '74, but there was a handful of 16 or 24 track studios. That's all they were. That's the other thing. I mean, it cost you. Everybody in the bank put all the money they had together just to go in and record. Thousands of dollars to record in 1970s money. Today, I mean, clearly you could go take that same money and go buy a recording studio for your house.
You could.
You could buy a 24 track. I mean, it doesn't. It's a whole different world.
Did you have a record out back then? Or?
Yeah, we did. The first Marshalls record was done at the first one that came out, that literally came out, was done at Perfect Crime Studio in Watertown.
Oh, I remember. Rob?
Yeah, Rob Dimmitt, who's actually still a friend of mine. He's a professor at NYU now.
Good guy.
An associate dean at NYU, and I hang with him occasionally. I hung with him about a month and a half ago, that was on a national compilation on Bomp Records. It's called "You Don't Care," a song my brother Kevin wrote, and Andy Paley produced it, and that came out nationally, I think in late '78, early '79. And then shortly after that, we put out AM, which was done at Perfect Crime, and 2 songs that were done at Intermedia. You Need Some Lovin', and what else? She's the One. It's hard to remember the order of things.
We're a little more than halfway through the show. Could I ask you guys to do another tune?
Sure.
I'm having a lot of fun talking about. I haven't seen both of you in a long
What do you want
time.
to do?
You want to do the one from Macy's Parade since he's already mentioned it?
Sure. Better have a sip of water here. So, Joe, we learned this one for you.
Thank
'Cause
you.
You said you liked this song.
I
so
love
much.
this song.
Obviously, this is a slightly different arrangement of this number. It's called Comical. Barry and I wrote this. Barry produced the Macy's Parade album, and we were doing a lot together at the time, so we wrote this song for the album. Most of the songs were not written for the album.
That's right.
Only a couple of them were.
Typically, when I make a record as a producer, I sit down with the artist, or what I call the creative focus of the artist, if it's a member of the band who's the songwriter, and work through a lot of pre-production and work through songs. And I'd like to start with just one person, like that, and play through the songs just on acoustic guitars, or very simple, or just on a piano, and then work up arrangements that way, and then go to band arrangements. So sometimes in that process, you end up writing and stuff like that. I think we wrote this during pre-production for the other songs in that period.
In your kitchen.
In my kitchen, right?
Yeah.
What's the opening chord?
This is a D major 7th.
It's real magical.
Now, on the album, it's not opening with D major 7th. It's actually open with A. It's opening with the other riff.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But we're opening with D major 7th. That's the dominant chord of the song. But the lyrics are sort of a conversation within the mind. If you listen to these lyrics, there.
Actually, if I'm adding a little E in there too.
He's adding an E.
I'm not sure what chord. I'll have to ask one of my Berkeley cats what chord that is.
Shall we?
2, 3, 4.
Crawling on the carpet, spinning to the floor. Watching as I'm trapped behind the door. Pandora's box can open fast. Stepping through the looking glass at last. Sweeping through these thoughts of suicide. Friends tell me that I should just get high. Well, how can feelings last forever? How do people keep it together? When they gonna call me? When's it gonna come back? When they gonna call me? When's it gonna come back? This life is comical. It came and went. It comes and goes. Come on, let it flow. We could find love, but you never know. This world could kill your soul. Are you dancing with the people of the light? A loving lover, love, it can't take this life. Well, pride will come before the fall. Get on your knees or you will crawl. When they gonna call me? When's it gonna come back? When they gonna call me? When's it gonna come back? This life is comical. It came and went. It comes and goes, yeah. Come on, get out of the shadows. This life is not a picture show. This world could kill your soul. So you say no more pre-surmise. You say no more planning your demise. But it's hard to hear when they choke in laughter. It's hard to see what's coming after. When they gonna call me? When's it gonna come back? When they gonna call me? When's it gonna come back? This life is comical. It came and went. It comes and goes, yeah. This life is comical. It comes and goes. It comes and goes, yeah. This life is comical. It came and went. It's comical, yeah. This life is comical. It came and went. It's comical.
Now, did you fellas write that on guitar together?
Sitting at the kitchen table.
Sitting at a kitchen table because visual radio fans, you're all blessed. Barry's not on guitar on the record, so this is a special treat. The songwriter is actually doing it, which is different from the record. So it's
Special treat for us too, Joe.
we like to get these rare moments. You know that. John knows how I am about collectible things.
Yes.
This is very collectible. This show is a way for me to talk to Billy Briggs and Andy Pratt and Sal Baglio, John and Barry, because it's just bringing the history of Boston rock and roll to a point where we have 1 hour.
Yeah.
1 hour interviews. We're documenting things and finding out about your records and where you recorded. I didn't know where you recorded, I believed, which was a pivotal single in the Boston scene way back when.
Yeah, it was pretty early in the whole thing, yeah.
Pretty early. Willie had his records out. He was like one of the motivators.
Yeah, it was basically Ready, Teddy, and Willie.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, on July 14th, it is the 14th, July 14th this summer at the Paradise is the Ready Teddy reunion show.
In the back room?
No, in the big room.
In the big room. Wow.
Yeah, the Ready Teddy reunion show with us, Jon Macey and the Score, and Thunder Train.
Thunder Train.
Yeah.
Wonder if we should bring the video cameras out.
We should definitely bring the video cameras out for that.
Who's playing guitar now?
So for Ready Teddy, they have some guy, Ted St. Von something or other. Don't get mad at me if you're watching the show.
Yeah.
He was the original guitarist in Ready Teddy.
Really?
Before
Before
Matthew.
Well, I guess there was two guitar players. So they got Joe Marino, the original drummer, who played on for that Novelty Shoes single. Before Bugwit got hurt in an accident. He's playing percussion. So John Morse, it's all Scott Barrymore, the whole band, the original band. Jeff Locke from the Atlantics is going to play guitar too. So they have two guitar players.
Excellent.
Willie's playing keyboards, Willie Alexander. So it's going to be a big night. Chuck White and the whole Boston Rock and Roll Museum, that's who's promoting it.
Excellent.
Yeah, so Jon Macey and the Score, which is really Fox Pass and Scant Disguise, is playing.
John Morse was in one of the Final Count bands.
Really?
Can you believe this?
John Morse?
Yeah, and I had Jeff Locke on guitar.
So you got both of those guys.
I had Jeff Locke on guitar, I had Jimmy Brooks from the Zulus, my drummer Mike Quinn from the Count, and we had Barbara Kitson from the Thrills,
Wow.
me,
Really?
and John Morse singing
John.
lead. So we had a great show, right? And there's like 5 people at Bunratty's. I'm saying, this is such a great show. I climbed up to the rafters, sang, and it was my final night. I couldn't take it anymore. God bless you guys, but you put a great show like that on the stage, and no one comes.
Is that the last time you climbed to the rafters?
It was one of the, yeah. I wasn't as heavy.
I remember one time I played with you at Cantones, and you did like a kind of like almost like a curly up the wall, and you flipped over like it
was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun in those days. We could do whatever we wanted to do, right? When John and I did the Paradise, was a line around the corner to get in. You know, that was quite a scene. John and I personally went up and down Com Ave putting posters up.
Well, if we have the, I think I have the reels and you have the reels. We should do that.
Sam Copper taped it.
Right. We should put it out.
Yeah.
We should put it out.
Why not?
Yeah. So you found yours, huh?
Well, I got the storage facility that I pay every month for storage, and it's got all my tapes. You know.
Wow.
I was in there today, and I saw what we did in '91. We did this record, Nothing Like a Hit, Sail Away, and I found the master tape was in there in the library. Some are in my basement, but most are in storage. So yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, they're all there. We'll find them. Archivists. We have to. You know, Willie Alexander would give half his stuff to John and half his stuff to me, and it's like,
I know.
this is your work.
Wow.
Yeah. I gave most of it back to him. I still have a lost Violet Gown 45 though.
Do you?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
That sounded lovely. That was
thanks.
that was a real treat for me to hear that, because I like that tune a lot. It's you should put it in a soundtrack or something.
Well, we'd love to get Andy Pratt to record it. That would be a great.
Well, how about this? We can ask you this: what if we can do this on June 26th, we can have Andy Pratt and Marty Ballin do it. Marty just called me yesterday from the Jefferson Airplane.
That's wild.
The first guest on Visual Radio. He's an old dear friend. When we were recording, I got him a record deal with CD Review magazine. So Marty stays in touch, and I stay in touch, and he's coming up June 26th, and I want him playing with Andy. And he said,
So
sure.
is he doing a whole tour with the which
Starship.
version? Starship.
Yeah, it's
Jefferson
basically
Starship.
Paul Kantner, Marty Ballin, and Diana Mangiano's wonderful on voice. She's actually been in the band longer than Grace at this point.
Wow.
And they got the guy from the Tubes on drums, Prairie Prince.
Wow.
Great keyboard player, and then the guitar player has been in the band for well over a decade, since 87, 86. Slick Aguilar. So they have a
Marty
real
Ballin
band.
song right there. Coming Back to Me. That's part of it, I think.
Of what song?
Coming Back to Me, a Marty Ballin song.
Oh.
Yeah.
One of the original Airplane tunes. I think he still does that today, too.
Wow.
But that'd be fun to get them to sing this tune.
Wow, that'd be great. He's a great singer. I saw him a couple times I saw him at Woodstock. I shouldn't admit to that. I saw him at Woodstock. I saw him at UMass at the what was that called? The Hatch or something? The Hatch, yeah. It was a great concert there. At Woodstock, they weren't that good. They were tripping and they were a little out of it. And it was the morning.
They were fun.
But at UMass, they were awesome. They
You
really
saw
were
them at
good.
Woodstock.
Oh yeah, I saw him at Woodstock. Oh yeah.
I saw the movie.
Yeah.
Hey, when Marty got his record deal in '92, I brought your sister.
I was 4 then. No.
I brought your sister and Dee Dee Stewart up to New Hampshire to the recording.
Yeah. That's great.
So
yeah.
we gotta do this. We gotta.
Yeah, we'll put it together. That'd be great.
Andy Pratt, Marty
I'd love
Ballin
to do
doing
that.
comical.
That'd be great.
Be a lot of fun.
Wow. That'd
Do
be
Barry's
wild.
original Beach Boys arrangement of the song.
Well,
Yeah,
there's a whole other arrangement, huh?
Well, that's kind of what we were just doing then. Yeah. We kind of originally wrote it almost like a Beach Boys type thing, with the major sevenths.
All right, so I know who's playing with him. He's got his super group of the Macey collection.
Mm-hmm.
Who's playing with you?
I'm playing with Marty and with
That's Marty White, who's
Christian.
off camera right now.
Yeah.
Marty
And-
White?
Yeah.
Yes.
And on bass, and Christian Kennedy on keyboards. He's one of my students actually, who's a good player. And
Or if he doesn't come out and play,
a
he doesn't
character
get
in
a
his
good
own
grade.
right. What's that?
If he doesn't come out and play, he doesn't get a good grade.
Right. A character in his own right.
So it's a trio, or?
No. And Johnny Jules is going to play drums with me in that show. So I'm doing. I'm not going to do any Marshall stuff because the Marshalls have sort of started playing again. So I'm going to be doing Marshall
really?
stuff with the Marshalls, but not in this particular show.
Wicked good music, the Marshalls. Don't Fool Around, Cecile, Too Young. AM, Cruising Alone.
That's mostly a collection of our late '70s stuff.
Why didn't
Yeah.
Seymour pick this stuff up?
Well, he did actually. We did a deal. We did a development deal. John referred to a development deal. So we actually got a lot of recording money from him to record stuff.
Sire Records, that is.
Yeah,
Seymour
and,
Stein.
and that was early on with Andy, and Andy produced it, and that's how we got some of those original records financed with the development deal, that's a way to do it.
And Eric Rosenfeld, of course, from the Sidewinders.
One of the great guitar players of all time, amazing player. And then later Adam Roth, who's also a great player, who we used to work with Adam and Dennis Leary. Adam was going to Emerson at the time, so we were kind of a house band at Emerson. It was around 1979, 1980, and in that period, Dennis Leary and a bunch of those guys were doing the Emerson Comedy Workshop. So we used to play in those shows and write comedy songs with them and all kinds of stuff like that. We had some pretty funny punk baby parodies of Patti Smith and all that kind of stuff. It was funny, but anyway, all kinds of stuff. But those were mostly recordings from the late '70s, which I just decided to remaster and put together in a package. And I'm looking for some good live tapes now to try to do a live album from that era too.
I think I remember Fox Fest being on the ERS. They were doing their broadcasts like.
Oh yeah, we
NPR
did a lot of broadcasts on
Did you
the
do them
ERS.
too?
Oh yeah,
You have your
we probably
tapes,
did
right?
about 5 of them.
Yeah, I have a few different years we were on that.
Yeah.
I've got an unbelievable amount of Fox Pass tapes.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Unbelievable amount, but it's all on reel to reel. I have to find ways to transfer it over. I mean, I have crates of it. Everything. Gigs at the Rally. And all kinds of other bands are on these tapes. I don't even know half the people that are on these tapes. Because I just ran the reel to reel recorders.
What speed were they going at then, do you remember?
They're probably at 7.5.
Yeah, 7.5, yeah.
I remember the recorders going at Oliver's. I saw your recorders going.
Yeah, I got the whole entire history of Fox Pass recorded.
Wow.
You know, tons of studio records, but tons of live. So I got to find a way to go through this stuff, but I don't have a reel to reel, and nobody's got one anymore. I mean,
I'll find you one.
Barry's going to.
I got one.
Yeah,
You got one?
I got one. It's at one of my engineers' house because we've been downloading. You know, my band, I did the same thing. So if we want to torture people, we can have a little Fox Pass of the Joe Vig collection. We can just sit through mountains of tapes, right?
Well, I think we have to run them once because who knows what kind of shape they're in. We've got to run them right to digital.
Yeah, you roll them to digital, and come over to my house sometime. We can do it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We'll just, clean up the machine. You know where else we can do? We say this stuff right on the air, folks, so 1 million people can watch this. My engineer's out in Swampscott. We'll go over to his place. We'll have him do it. He's got every reel-to-reel imaginable.
He does, because some's half track, some's quarter track.
Yeah, I got a nice 4-track machine that you can make a half track.
Oh,
but
good.
we can go to Swampscott and we'll make someone else do it. We can watch. We'll have coffee and watch him do the work.
Yeah, that'd be good.
See, this is what visual radio is all about.
Yeah.
You see how the actuality in process.
This is actuality in process. Now we've got that. This right here is actuality in process.
People don't know how much fun that we're talking about because this is all rare stuff. It's history.
Yeah.
Okay, take yourself out of the mix for a minute, right? The fact that you taped a moment in time, forget that it's your band, but you taped a moment in time, you kind of like captured some history that's long gone.
Yeah.
So you've got this nightclub on tape.
Yeah,
so the band,
even in the recordings, like when I was putting together this Marshall's CD and I was doing remastering it, listening to it, I can hear some stuff that I still think sounds great, and I can hear some stuff that it's like somewhat embarrassing. I can hear us learning how to record. And that's become my life, recording. I mean, I'm mainly, I still gig a lot, and I love it, but I mainly work as a producer, a record producer. So I can I can hear myself learning how to do that on that CD.
Well, I have a good question for you. Barry teaches at a college in Boston. You have Jon Macey who's out there with the recorder, knowing the stuff's important. Do you see any kids in your classes that have that sense of urgency, that have to have the tape recorder? I taped Andy Pratt. I don't think anyone else did that.
Here and there, yeah, sure, definitely.
So these fanatics.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's in their blood. They have to have it on.
Yeah, the one thing I have to say about students today, though, I don't think they go out with quite the urgency that we used to go out. Like I used to go out. If I was gigging an average in the late '70s when I was in my 20s. I was gigging an average of 3 nights a week, and I would go out 6 nights a week out of 7. Almost every time, almost every week.
Yeah, I was out every night too.
Every single night.
See,
Well, if you didn't open for Art Roxy Music, you would have been there, right?
I think I had tickets actually.
He had tickets, and then he ended up.
And even when I was in college, I was going out 4 or 5 nights a week all the time. So I don't see quite so much urgency. Some students definitely.
Did you ever go see Lou Reed?
Back then, I saw him at the in the Velvet Underground. I saw the Velvet Underground several times at the Boston Tea Party. Yeah, sure.
Because I was at all the solo shows. You must have been there, right?
Right, but I was a little too young to see the Velvet Underground.
Yeah. I got a couple of
I
years
saw
on
the
you
Doug
guys
Yule
there.
Velvet Underground.
Yeah.
At Oliver's.
At Oliver's, yeah.
Was Willie in that?
No, it was after
Oh,
Willie. This
yeah.
was just the last.
Which came out on the box set, you know.
Wow.
Doug Yule Velvet Underground?
Yeah.
Really?
They stole my tape.
Wow.
Wow.
I taped it. and it's like a fifth generation. They knew to get in touch with me. I have the original and I digitized it. But, you know, this is the stuff this is how important it is. It's on a box set in Japan called Final VU. This
Wow.
four CD set.
Of just the Doug Yule Velvet Underground?
No, there's the Willie Velvets and all the post Lou Reed Velvets. They all collected it, right?
Wow.
And I'm ripping at them because they knew to get in touch with me, Doug Yule's manager, and they didn't.
Yeah.
But this stuff's important.
But
Joe.
Oliver's was one of the very, very last, if not the last show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the final.
It was the final.
I taped the final show.
Yeah.
And-
And that was it. That was the end of it.
Did you see Springsteen there?
No.
I saw Springsteen
No, I didn't
there.
know.
Yeah.
I did.
3 or 4 nights in a row. Yeah.
Mickey O'Halloran used to book it.
Yeah.
Mickey brought him in all the time.
Right. Well, Mickey put us in there.
That was a smart move.
Yeah.
Because you brought a good crowd, I remember.
Yeah, we had quite a following back
Was
then.
it Arlington people or Boston people?
By then, by the time we played Oliver's, it was Boston people.
Really?
Right, yeah,
So
'cause
you
we were
had
playing-
you had a good.
Because we were playing the Boston Club, which is now the Paradise. We were playing Katie's. Remember? Yeah.
Katie's.
You played there, huh?
Yeah, those
Wow.
were the big rooms.
Yeah.
But all of us had more prestige because all those other bands, like national acts, were playing there.
Right. Did Mickey have the Katie's and all that stuff too?
Mickey
Mickey
had
O?
Katie's in Boston Club. He had all of it. He had Revere Beach.
Really? So he
Yeah.
was pretty
Yeah.
heavy.
I have to say, I think Fox Pass was a sort of unique transitional. They were a band that went through a unique transitional phase between the period of the great bands of the Sidewinders and the Modern Lovers, who were the really great original bands of the early '70s. Who
And
I used to go,
Aerosmith.
yeah,
Were in
and
that.
Aerosmith, who I used to go to see all the time, and ended up almost being like a quasi roadie for the Sidewinders. And I was good friends with Andy, and then that was the early '70s, and then the Rat whole punk new wave, whatever you want to call it, scene got going around '75, '76. Fox Pass was kind of a transitional band between then that became popular really, but that preceded that Rat scene in a way.
And I wanted
So by the time I was playing the Rat, those guys were super popular, and I was happy to be opening for them. Like I remember we did a show at Dreamwall, I think in '76, I think.
That was quite a
Dreamwall.
place.
Where was
Dreamwall.
that?
That was in Situate.
Big mansion in Situate.
I remember
yeah.
It was a
remember
Robert
it.
Barron named Tom Lawson's mansion from 1900, and it had a huge ballroom. And I used to put on
Dreamwall.
shows there all the time. Yeah, I had a bunch. I used to put the Sidewinders down there, and I had a bunch of shows I put on. I was always one of those hustling guys who put on my own shows when I couldn't get gigs. I still do.
I wanted to ask John, since you brought up and Fox Pass was this pivotal
Yeah.
transition band, when did you start it?
72.
72.
Yeah. Michael, Roy, and I were in high school.
Did you play with the Sidewinders?
Oh, yeah, we played the Sidewinders a few times.
Yeah, I
we
think
played
I remember one of
Sandy's
those.
in Beverly. Remember that club?
Yeah, I didn't go that gig, but I think
Sandy's
I remember.
was a jazz club in Beverly,
Yep.
but it was also a prestige room. Sidewinders played there a number two. We played the Box with the Sidewinders.
That's who I saw you
Yeah.
with. I saw you at the
The
box.
box,
Yeah.
which was like the movie theater.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
Palm
Sidewinder-
Ave.
Yeah.
Sidewinders played there quite a few times. That was the psychedelic supermarket.
Right. It
Was
was, the
it?
psychedelic
Yep.
superbar became the
I saw
Box.
Cream there in '67
Really?
or '68. But the box also, the Sidewinders I remember played it with Aerosmith. And one time they played Aerosmith opened for them. Then about a year later,
Yeah.
I realized Aerosmith was becoming popular when we were, the Sidewinders were
Yeah.
opening for Aerosmith.
Well, the funny thing about the Box gig, which I have on tape, I
Wow.
probably have the Sidewinders, but I have us for sure. It was the Sidewinders, Fox Pass, and the Kids,
Who became the real kids.
who became the real
Mr.
Kids.
Kurt
I definitely
Kids
was at
with
that
Mr.
show.
Kurt, with Mr. Kurt and the Kids, yeah.
Now, did Queen come to that show?
Queen came to
That
that
had to
show.
be
yeah,
I was there.
74.
I was there.
74, 73?
That was '74.
It
I
was
think.
74.
Yeah.
Sometime in early 74.
Billy Squire
yeah.
version of the Sidewinders, later version of the Sidewinders.
So that at that point,
Max Ann brought Queen
right,
to the
Max
show.
Ann brought Queen. That was the Boston rock scene. That was it.
Yeah.
A handful of, Giles and Aerosmith were already on their way. That was the Boston rock scene.
They were national.
Yeah, there was no Boston rock scene. It
For
had died.
original acts.
Right, it had died. It was all cover bands and blues and jazz, obviously, which is always big in Boston. But that sort of pop rock thing, there wasn't anybody else.
So you were writing your own rules.
Well, it's funny. It's all obviously it's all hindsight now.
Yeah.
you know, at the time
Uncharted
it was like,
waters, but
it was
you
at
didn't
the
know.
time like, what the hell, you know, where are we going to play next? That we were playing everywhere, but it was tough,
Yeah.
you know.
The way we used to handle it, the Marshalls, was we used to play a lot of suburban gigs where we do you know, more than 50% covers. Like it'd be more like a cover group show, and then in the city we play all originals. And then you know, and then in that era of 77, 76, 77, 78, I was also in a band in New York in '76 called Mong with Jonathan Paley that played at CB's a whole bunch of times, like maybe 75 times or something. We were opening act for television and stuff. So I used to get the Marshalls down to New York based on that. So we played Max's with the Marshalls, and we played Club 82 and a couple of other places.
Well, you know, I got to have you guys back when I have a 6-hour show on the overnight.
Yeah.
We can talk because you know, do you know the hour's gone?
It's gone already?
It's gone already. We have to do a song and
song out?
and
A
be
song to go out?
actually in process. And wow, Jon Macey, Barry Marshall, pioneers of Boston rock and roll here on Visual Radio 303.
This is a song I wrote a few years back called "You Got No Shame." Sin vergüenza.
Sin vergüenza.
Sin vergüenza.
I got it now.
Sure you have problems to contend with. Fate puts your life up at the pain. Privilege, it's gonna be your life. You got to deal with what you got. No one else knows what you're going through. They'll take it back.
You got no shame, boy. You got no shame, boy. You got no shame, boy. You got no shame.
The evil eye will look upon you. Report your every deed and word. Come on, there's just no good reason to be intimidated by them. You got no shame, and now they know. They'll tell you
You got no shame, boy. You got no shame, boy. You got no shame, boy. You got no shame.
I said you
Got no shame. You got no shame. You got no shame. You got no shame.
because I thought the state would try to make and break you.
Only if you let them.
They'll build you up just to put you down.
Only if you let